So how is it, right, doing my first oversized load? If it wasn't for all the idiots on the road, I'm telling you, people, I feel like sometimes they just have a death wish. It's amazing to me how we're still surviving as a race. Sometimes it's, whew. So I got like 20 inches of I have pretty much exactly 20 inches on either side of overhang on my trailer. I guess the good thing is it's only a small section. Like the stick figure's legs, the feet are sticking out the farthest. So I guess that's a good thing. It's not the full length of my trailer. Between people on their phone, people not looking far enough ahead, and people thinking they can skirt by, there's about 75% of the people that have passed me or that I have passed that just make hauling an oversized load very tense. I don't feel stressed, but sometimes there are tense moments of the drive. I have driven so far with this load already just about 1,000 miles, so almost to the halfway point. That's another thing, you guys, when traveling long distances with one load, with any or a few loads, with one truckload, however many partials or whether it's the full load, depending on what the load is, it can also be stressful. I mean, there's damn near 2,500 miles between the pickup and the drop off. And this is not your normal load. I mean, the partial in front, 2 chains, easy peasy, it's not moving a bit. But the stick figure statue that the fire station in Sacramento just had to have, somehow the city finds it necessary to, the city or the state or the county or whoever, they found it necessary to put funds towards this giant stick figure statue, whatever. Don't let me get started. Anyways, it's not a normal load, right? It's not bunches of pipe or whatever, palletized freight. It's an odd load. So I've already stopped probably 4 times. When I've stopped and looked at stuff, I've had to readjust. I've had to add straps. I moved a couple straps and I added a strap. And the blocks that the statue is sitting on, I had to put some extra screws on those, just, little stuff, because like I said, 2,500 miles between pickup and delivery, and she's already bounced around quite a bit. So now I'm in Nebraska, which is wonderful. I'm about 20 miles from my next stop, which is where I'm gonna fuel. It's like 35 cents cheaper with my fuel card, so I'm gonna stop there in Omaha. So I'm in Nebraska, but like for the first 600 miles on the 80, it was just bumpy. The 80 was just trash. And I have to stay, of course. I'm in the slow lane. I'm going whatever my permits say the speed limit I need to go. But I also have to offset myself. In the slow lane, I have to jump over and have the overhang into the emergency lane so that the driver's side fits. The overhang on the driver's side fits within my lane, because people are just speeding by me. Of course, I'm going slow and I have overhang, so everybody's passing me, big rigs included, other oversized loads included, everybody's passing me, which that's fine. But I have to be offset in my lane in order to account for the overhang. So like I said, there were some tense moments, a couple of them, but for the most part, I'm doing I-80 the entire way, and other than a little bit of construction here or there, I'm not over height, so that's very good. And I'm really glad that I kind of fought a little bit to not tarp this load. Number one, I'm getting 9 miles to the gallon, which is good for going, at the rate of speed that I'm going. I between 9 and 10 miles to the gallon, which is good. But if I would have tarped this, I would not have been able to see when the dunnage shifts or the piece shifts or a strap gets loose. I would have to untarp and look under the tarp. So it's really nice that it's all open, and I also feel that it's safer. I explained to a few people at origin as well as destination, the buyer and everything. I said, look, if I tarp this, it's gonna flap because it's an odd shape. Just because of the tarps that I have, it's gonna flap, it's gonna create some balloon effects, and that I think is gonna be more of a safety hazard with an oversized load than just if it had just the small foot overhang on each side. And so I kind of argued my point, and it worked out in my favor, but it also worked out in the load's favor. I think the wind drag from the tarp would have probably caused this thing more pressure, more wind drag, so the bracing on the piece would have had to fight more wind drag, and I'm not sure that the tarp would have secured the load any better. In my opinion, it would have been more of a risk. So I'm glad I didn't have to tarp it. Everything is holding phenomenally as far as the wrapping, and shipper, the shipper did a really good job of foam wrapped it, and then they wrapped it in that really thick, it's not shrink wrap, it's like really thick, almost hard plastic wrap, and then I think they heat it up at the ends, Anyways, they did a very good job on that, and then they gave me like a roll of it in case some of it comes undone, but I haven't needed to use it. But this is going to be really handy for probably some other load later down the line. So everything is great. I am waiting here because one of my Patreons, Chaz is from the East Coast. I'm from the West Coast. On Friday or Saturday, I don't remember, Friday or Saturday, he was like, oh yeah, I'm in Nebraska. I was like, dude, no way, I'm in Nebraska. And we were gonna meet up, but he had a delay on his delivery and I had like no time. So I said, yeah, oh well, I'm coming back on the 80, I'll hit you up on the way back. And he texted me just about 20 minutes ago and he said, I just passed you. I'm like, oh my gosh, let me pull over so we can say hi real quick. So I get to meet Chaz. It'll be an honor. What are the odds, right? He's from New York and I'm from California, and somehow we're meeting up in the middle just by a fluke in Nebraska. So very cool. So I'm hanging out waiting for him. He's gonna double back and meet me here, and we'll say hi to Chaz. Just got a little dose of reality. So my permit guy didn't get me Wyoming. He said, he gave me some direction what to do for Wyoming. I thought I followed it. Wyoming is one of those states, you guys, one of those states that you better have your permit before entering the state. And if you do not have your permit before entering the state, then you must call the port of entry and request a clearance code or a clearance site number. So I was told by the officer, who was very kind, very respectful, complimented me on my load securement. Okay, so I'm just telling you the story. She said, I'm not gonna cite you this time. We are going to use this as an educational opportunity, but you should have had clearance or a permit before you touched my state. So let that be a lesson to you guys. And because I have not been cited in Wyoming before, I have had an inspection in Wyoming, but I have not been cited in Wyoming, and I have clean DOT scores, I have clean safer scores. That is what I think really kept me on her good side. So the cleaner your score is, the better off you are. And that is something that I go over and I preach on Patreon in several of my videos. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, educate yourselves. If you're not going to sign up to my Patreon page and allow me to educate you, then find out what I'm talking about somewhere else. It's very, very important. My company is over 3 years old. My authority is just a couple of days from being 3 years old, and my scores are phenomenal. The officer was very generous. She was very kind to me. She said, well, give you a pass on this one. She also did educate me, so I am here to educate you guys. Oregon and Wyoming, those two that I know of. And if you guys have any others that you want to throw out there, please put them in the comments for us all. But Oregon and Wyoming are states that you are not allowed to enter. To purchase a permit at the port of entry, you have to have some type of authorization to get into their state first. So Oregon, just a side note, Oregon, you can buy the permits online now, even if they're one-way or round-trip temporary permits. And Wyoming, the officer did tell me maybe towards the end of the year or within the next year, they are going to go electronic. So they will get a website and we will be able to purchase permits online, because my permit company is not authorized. The only way to get state permits for Wyoming is if you get to a port of entry, physically get there. So that's the only way. Other than that, you know, you're riding dirty, I guess, like I was. So anywho, in Wyoming, we got a big push today. We'll see how far I get. I don't know, you guys. It's a toss-up whether I make it or not on time. I haven't even told you that story, but we'll get to it once I chew up some miles, see how things go. Well, I tell you what, you guys, I need an alignment after this trip. Man, the combination of just bumpy roads from Iowa and farther east, just really bumpy, and now coming back with this oversized load, I have to almost skirt the shoulder, and it's putting me right in like the line of all of the you know, potholes and the cracks in the freeway and the asphalt or whatever. So, and I can feel it. I can already feel it on the truck. The truck feels like it needs help. So that's another thing to consider. You know, that's something else. You guys have to weigh out the pros and the cons, and we'll, like I said in a previous video, I'm going to go over the numbers on this trip, because it's not too often that I take a big long trip like this and pretty much everything was off of the load board. Just the one Subaru was Doug's coming out here. So, but everything else from California to Oregon, Oregon to the Midwest, and then the Midwest back to California, this was all load board stuff. So it's a good, you know, my chances of getting these loads and your chances of getting these loads that I booked were the same. Yeah, I negotiated higher rates for both of the loads that I have on my trailer right now, and we'll go over that in a little bit. Yeah, I did negotiate higher rates, but they were loads that were posted up on the open market, so they could have been anybody's loads. So we'll go over some numbers on this trip, and you know, just give you guys an idea of what's out there, what the current market is, what, you know, what I'm seeing, what I'm doing, and you guys weigh out the pros and cons for yourselves. I'm going to discuss, you know, OTR driving versus regional versus local. I haven't talked about that in a long time, so I'm going to discuss that in a future video when we go over these numbers. And you know, you guys will have to decide for yourselves what type of driving you want to do, what type of driving suits you, what type of driving suits your family, stuff like that. Oh wow, I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see, you guys. I'm just going through the salt flats on I-80, heading out of Utah and into Nevada. Oh, you're not going to be able to see it. Darn it. This poor big rig, Pam Transport. Man. He drove right into the water. Guardrail did not stop him at all. Poor guy. Probably got out all right. But man, bummer. That's it for, that could be it for his career, actually. Man. And a lot of little monsoon rain coming through Utah here and there. No big deal. The statue is holding well. When I stop for today, I'll give you guys the crazy details on this load. It totally feels like a Shipping Wars load. It totally does. It really, really does. But I'll tell you guys about it in a little bit.